Welcome on our second episode on Ansible series, where we're going to learn a lot of stuff. Let's go. If you have ever wanted to dive into server management or set up a secure and efficient environment for your project, you are in the right place. Today, we are setting up a master server on Linux and configuring SSH to communicate seamlessly with our target servers, including Docker container running Ubuntu and Debian. We'll be working with a master server hosted on Linux and 3 target servers. We are going to have 1 Linux-based target server and 2 Docker container servers. The first one running Ubuntu and second one Debian. We will install OpenSSH server and configure SSH protocols to establish secure communication between this system. Let's get started. So let's setting up our master server and setting up our Visual Studio Code that we're going to use to connect remotely. So we're going to create our AlmaLinux, that is our master on Linux, and setting up our Visual Studio Code and try to connect. We have $100 credit on Linux right now, so you can create a free server. So we're going to move on Google and type linux.com, and you should see something like Akamai is Linux platform. Okay, so let's sign up over there, provide your information, email, username, and so on. Okay, so I'm going to use Google to sign up here, and we're going to move forward. Okay, and you're just going to follow the different steps. After following the different steps, you're going to have your Linux platform showing up like that, and you can move on Linux on Akamai, click on create, and start to create your new server. Okay, in this example I'm showing you how to create a CentOS 7 server, but I'm not going to use it. So you're going to click over there and choose which kind of server you want to install. So on images I'm going to choose CentOS 7 for example, even if I'm using AlmaLinux during this formation. Okay, I'm just showing up the process. So over there on share CPU I'm going to choose the cheaper one, $5 monthly. So with $100 credit, you will be able to use it for a long period. And after that, Linux label, you can provide a Linux label, provide a password, okay? And if you are setting up everything, you can click on create Linux, okay? So after creating your Linux server, it should showing up like that. And when you are clicking on it, you should be able to see all the detail, how to SSH connected to it, how to remote connected to it, and everything else that you need in order to work this server remotely. You have your IP address, you have the code, line of code that you're going to run on Visual Studio Code in order to connect remotely. So let's move on Google once again and type Visual Studio Code. Okay, so right there we're going to open our Visual Studio Code and website, and we're going to choose the OS version that we're going to use during this formation. For me it's Windows, and just click on download for Windows. Okay, and after that you will be able to setting up everything and come over there, copy the SSH line and paste it after install our Visual Studio Code, and we will just move forward and type our password that we have generated on the Linux platform site. So I'm doing it quickly right there. Okay, so we are good right now. I am connected on my Linux server, okay, which is going to be my master. Okay, so I'm gonna cat etc release comment. I'm gonna make the cat etc comment in order to showing up you can see it's exactly CentOS 7 that you have choose before that is installed right now. You can see all the detail using the cat /etc star release. Okay, so once we have installed this, we're going to move forward. Okay, so let's move on our real application right now. Mine is the AlmaLinux. Okay, you can see the information is a little bit it's looking a little bit different. So it's ending by 128. This is the AlmaLinux server, since CentOS 7 is not supported anymore. So I'm going to install it, and I just follow the same process, and I've typed my password, and I'm good in my master server. Let's install Docker right now on this master server. To install Docker, you have a lot of methods. So before you install Docker Engine for the first time on a new host machine, you need to set up the Docker repository. Afterward, you can install and update Docker from. So you can just drop a post and read all this information. You can find all this information on how to set up the repository on Docker documentation page website. Okay, so you're going to install the DNF plugin. This is the command that the documentation of Docker going to show you, and I'm going to show you everything step by step in the following line. So after that, you will install the Docker packages. Okay, and when you have installed your Docker packages, you're going to start your Docker engine using systemctl enable command. Okay, and after that, you're going to move on the next step, which is going to be verify that the installation is successful by running the command docker --version. So we're going to move on Docker documentation right now. If you don't have a Docker Hub a credential yet, if you don't have a Docker Web credential yet, if you don't have a Docker Hub page, make sure to create your Docker page, okay, your Docker Hub page, because it's going to be helpful during all our process. Okay, Docker install. So I'm typing in search in docs Docker install engine on CentOS. Since AlmaLinux is a same flavor with CentOS, we're going to use information that Docker is showing up about how to install AlmaLinux. So it's exactly everything that I'm describing in the previous line that I'm dropping right there. So the first is sudo dnf-y, okay, set up the repository. After that, we move on install Docker engine, running to install the latest version. We're just going to copy our code and drop the Y there to continue with your installation. So I want to advise you, always refer yourself to the Docker documentation website when you want to install Docker on a new server, if you want to avoid every issues during your working process. Okay, so now we're going to start Docker engine using the command that Docker has provided to us. So we're going to do it quickly right there. So it's exactly everything that I'm describing on the beginning of this section. Okay, so okay, right now we are good. Okay, so we're going to move on the next step right now, which is we already start Docker engine. Now verify that installation is successful by running the hello world image. This is an option, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use the docker --version command in order to see if it is installing very good on my server, okay, on my master server. You see, Docker version 26.1.3 build B7 sector. So we are good right now. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is open that server on another page that I'm calling Ubuntu. Okay, and I'm going to install my first Docker container, which is going to be my Ubuntu. So I'm moving on Docker Hub website, and you can see that one got downloaded more than 1 billion times, and you have a lot of feedback, and you can see the number of pooling that we got, more than 10 million. So since everything looks good, you can copy the Docker pull command and just continue with your process. But I'm not going to do like that. I'm going to run the command directly on my server, docker run -it-name, the server name, -p internal external. Okay, so internal external -z and image name. You can drop a post and see all the detail. What is -i, what is -t, what is -p. Okay, and if you have question, just drop your question in the comment. Okay, I will be happy to help. Okay, so I'm going to run that command in order to install my Ubuntu container. So docker run -it, okay, --name. I will provide the name of my server, which is going to be a Ubuntu server. Okay, so after that I will proceed with the port, the internal port. I'm going to specify the internal port first, the internal port number first, 2200, and the external one 22, which is the number of the number used by SSH protocol. -d means in detached mode, and Ubuntu latest, that means the last version. So you can see that the Docker has been installed successfully. Now I'm going to run Docker ps in order to see information about my Docker container. You can see the container ID and image command created when our container has been created, the port, the name, and so on. Okay, so right now I'm going to connect myself to that Docker using the command docker attach. Okay, so I'm going to run the command docker attach and using the container ID in order to log in on this container server. Okay, now I'm inside the Ubuntu container server. Now let's install OpenSSH server. So right there, let's first run cat etc/store release in order to confirm that we are our Ubuntu server. Okay, so just a way to have a confirmation that we have the good server. You see this trip ID Ubuntu. Awesome. So right now we're going to proceed with apt update first before to install our OpenSSH. Always update. Okay, so apt update, and after that we're going to proceed with apt install OpenSSH server. So the OpenSSH server is already installed by default on our Linux server, but on container we always have to install it and configure it. So that's why we are installing it right now. And after that we're going to move in the SSHD config file in order to proceed with some configuration. So right there, they asked me to choose my state number. My country is America. My state is Denver. I just put the number 48 and continue with the process. Okay. So Docker is magic, guys. I'm going to run a full series on Docker after this Ansible series. It's really useful in the software development process. So now I'm going to run service -status all in order to see all my services. You see SSH is down. you can see the minor sign in front. Okay, so right now I have to start it, but I'm going to run my password command first, password root, and setting up my root password. Okay, the root password that I'm going to use to access my container for everything that I'm going to need the root authorization. So right now I think that we're going to see how to configure our SSH element, SSH detail in SSH HD. Okay, so I'm going to move on the SSH directory quickly, and we're going to vim our SSH D config. Okay, for that I would like to use vim, but vim is not installed by default, so I have to install using apt install vim. Vim is a great editor that I love, and I prefer to use it on my configuration on Linux server. So now that it's installed, I can proceed with vim sshd config, and I will be able to proceed with my configuration to make my Docker container accessible in the network by the other by the master server. So sshd -config. Awesome. Here I just press I have entered the I key to be able to write, and you're going to scroll down until you arrive on permit root login prohibit password and create a line. Write exactly the same thing and add yes at the end. Okay, permit root login space yes, and we're going to register our file. Okay, after that we're going to press escape colon WQ exclamation sign in order to register changes. Okay, so we have updated our file right now. Now we're going to start our SSH daemon. Okay, so we're going to use service command to start it. So we're going to use service command service SSH start, starting open BSD secure shell server SSHD. So now you see we have started it, and if you are doing service status -on now, you're going to see that you have a plus sign in front of SSH. Awesome. So we are good to access it using SSH command on our master. So let's do it quickly. Docker is magic, guys. You're gonna love it. So keep an eye. If you are not if you didn't subscribe to this channel yet, do it. We're gonna come back on our server and run the hostname -i in order to get our IP address on the server. So it's that one, and we're going to go back on our master and run the SSH and just paste that IP address. And you see, you're always going to have this question. You have to say yes for the first time, and we're going to provide the password that we have created on our container before using password root command, and now we are inside our container using SSH protocol. It's just awesome. Okay, we are logging out right now, and we're going to do the same. Okay, we're going to create a new